All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh,
Dr. Yahweh,
Bahashem,
Bashim,
Yahweh Shai,
Yahushai,
Bahashem,
Bashim,
Ruchak Kodash.
Josh.
Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Nothing Will Be Left in Babylon. I'm joined with the elder Nabah,
Shalom.
and pretty much, he's Elder Nabah is the head of the Memphis camp, and he had mentioned, or he sent me a title. I'm sorry, not a title. Well, actually, the title too, but he sent an article earlier, dealing with this the bunker plane that was sent out, for Trump, and another brother said that the last time that plane came out was prior to the whole 9/11 situation going on. And remember what happened then, and that was used as a pretext to go, to war with Iran. I'm sorry, with Iraq, you know, based off of the so-called WMDs, or weapons of mass destruction. So very likely something could possibly happen where they'll use that as a excuse to bring in to use it as a false flag and blame Iran for it, so that would justify America going to war with the Iranians. Pretty much at the behest of the small hats. So you had anything?
No, you got an apostle.
Okay, so if you want to go to the read some of that article,
Oh, yeah,
you can read some of the article and then take it from there. And this is from Newsbreak, right?
Right, yeah, Newsbreak article. You just say, Lord willing, y'all brothers and sisters be edified, while we lay the law down.
That's it.
Yeah. But it said this Newsbreak article say Trump doomsday plane designed to survive nuclear war spotted landing in DC. But the catcher is it said it's designed to survive nuclear war. We understand what the nuclear war is gonna, resolve as Babylon the Great.
That's it.
But it said it was spotted in DC. And like you were speaking on, the last time that plane was spotted, what happened in 9/11, was a false attack.
Yep.
But gave them, the excuse to go over to other countries, like in Micah 2. He need to keep it at home, Micah 2 and 5. Press a man in his house and his inheritance.
Yep. That's what they do.
Like Esau Edom, he gotta have what? He gotta have an excuse.
That's it. And this is the best way to do it. Just pretty much manipulate the masses of the people through their media.
Yeah, deception.
Yep. Because the media goes into the word medium, and the medium was like a go-between. Like you had the psychics, and the psychics, they were pretty much using what they call like the crystal ball, and so-called to tell the future and all that.
Right.
So this is pretty much Esau's sorcery being used to get the majority of the people on the planet on their side.
Right.
And all the world is waking up to America. All the world is waking up to Israel. And they're gonna, actually not be with it, because a lot of people are not with it. And then when you're not with any of the plans of the small hats, they call you anti-Sem. And this is pretty much what's going on. So the American media, which is controlled by the small hats, it's what's what's the word I'm looking for? Informing, for lack of better words, informing the world, of what's going on over there, but they're being biased because they're not actually telling you what's really happening. They're just, telling you what they want you to hear.
Yeah, they're just feeding you what they want to feed you.
That's right.
They're not giving you the whole, the whole truth. And that's how Esau able to capitalize. He don't give you the whole truth. He give you lies with the truth.
That's
it.
It
Will keep people constantly, biting into it.
Yep.
But I got this word doomsday.
Okay.
I want to bring it out. This is the word doomsday in the Google. It say the last day of the world existence.
Yeah, the last day of the world's existence. Yeah, because you have something called eschatology. Eschatology is the study of the end. Eschatos is end, like the ends of the world or the end of time and prophecy. And pretty much we know that time is never going to end. We know that the world as we know it, the earth is going to always continue, according to Ecclesiastes 1 and 4. The earth abideth forever.
That's right.
But the change of guard is coming. The this world that's being ruled, this empire that's being ruled by Esau, is going to be changed. But the next rule that's coming is not going to be any heathen nations. It's going to be Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai.
That's right. So this doomsday in the etymology online, right? It say doomsday. It say day of the last judgment. Right? And to jump down, it says doomsday was expected when the world age had reached 6,000 years from creation.
And that's true, because that's the point that we're at. That's why Eustace Mullins, they asked him how far his research went back. And he said, in the Library of Congress, history only goes back 5,000 years, which is 5,000 plus years, almost 6,000 years, because that is that's the age of man on the planet. There are some people try to tell you millions and billions of years ago. Bullshit. The earth is 5,000 almost. The history of man goes back about 5,000, almost 6,000 years. And that's why that's written. So we're at the final age or the final rulership of the heathen nations. And the next one that's coming is Yahweh Shai.
That's why it's called the day of the last judgment. Because that's what the Lord come to do. He come to bring judgment on the earth.
That's it.
Basically Babylon the Great, because this is the age of Esau.
That's it.
Yeah.
And Esau's world is going to go out by fire.
That's right.
If we could go real quick to
Amos.
You could get that one too, but let's go to Luke real quick.
Okay.
Luke 12, and what is that, 49?
All right.
Because the world is going to be on fire pretty much by the time Yahweh Shai gets back. And he's going to bring more fire.
That's it. And this is Luke 12 and 49. I am come to send fire on earth. And what will I if it be already kindled?
Right. So I am come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? So by the time Yahweh Shai gets here, the world's going to be fucked up. That's why it says, it's going to be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that very time. It said, and at that time that people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So the elect, that's going to be the very time when the elect is going to finally be delivered.
Oh, they bring me to mind Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 1.
Yeah.
To the righteous
standing great boldness. You want to go there, brother?
Yeah, I can get that real quick.
Yeah, jump
that just popped in my,
Now go ahead.
When you said that.
Yeah, jump on it, brother. You speak on it too.
Yes, Rock. That's Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 1.
Yep. That's a good point. Because right now Esau is being sentenced. We already went through the stages of revealing him and telling him who he is and what he's done and what he has to pay. Now we're in the sentencing stage. And what is the judgment? The judgment is going to come after the sentencing. What is that? You're going to go, your world is going to be destroyed. Your empire is going to be lost. And you're going to go into captivity for 1,000 years. And after that 1,000 years, you're going to be totally annihilated. Right. Every last one of you.
That's right. Yep. This is Wisdom of Solomon 5. I started at 1.
Yep.
It said, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him and made no accounts of his labor.
Yeah, you want to say something in it?
You got it.
So pretty much, the righteous man is what? Pretty much the prophets. Standing in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him. Because what we're doing now for the last 50 plus years, all this protest and stuff that Jake's doing, you couldn't do that. Back in the day during the slavery. Definitely couldn't do it during slavery, but you couldn't do it during the Jim Crow, era.
Yeah.
Even though you had Jakes that were protesting, but you would there was a point where Jake was getting lynched even after slavery. So you couldn't really speak on it.
You see what happened to Martin Luther King?
Yep. That's right.
Malcolm X.
Yep.
Because they made examples. You know,
That's
when you say you spoke about the slave, you had Nat Turner.
Yep.
You know, Nat Turner trying to bring forth some.
Yep.
What they end up doing? They end up killing him.
Oh yeah. And who gave him up? Jake.
Yep, Jake.
You know, but you know what? That was the Lord too, because it wasn't time for Esau to go down. The Lord spoke about not resisting the powers that be.
Right.
We can't take Esau down. We got to let the Lord do his thing. Because, you know, you got to understand that once the Lord hits this devil, there's no getting out of it. No, you know, somebody could sneak attack Esau and, you know, and do damage to him to a certain degree. But at the end of the day, you know, he could recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
When the Lord hit him, that wound is going to be incurable.
Yeah, that's right. So it says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him and made no accounts of his labor.
Right, because, you know, when you have a laborer, you're supposed to pay him at the end of the day.
Right.
So pretty much Esau then got free labor from all the tribes.
Yeah.
You know, you got these certain individuals that, you know, just teach that Jake, you know, the Israelites are just black, you know, and that they're, you know, the only ones that went through, you know, going the free labor and all that. No, you didn't. We were catching hell here before you got here.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, we are brothers, and, you know, brothers and sisters. You know, we are the same people. You know, so all of the tribes collectively, because the scriptures speak about 12,000 men out of each tribe that are the prophets, 144,000.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the ones cursing this devil out. Mm-hmm. And you got brothers from the tribe of Gad, from the tribe of Reuben, from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, so on and so forth, cursing this devil out.
Yep. And then that's how America became great.
Yep.
You know, free labor.
Yeah, that's right.
But now you see what it's coming to an end.
Yep.
Yep.
And you see how deceptive these devils are. They so-called freed the slaves, which was total bullshit. It was just a play on words. Emancipation just means a translation of ownership from one hand to another.
Right.
But when they did that, they supposedly let Jake go. But what did they do? They passed the 13th Amendment, which made Jake to be slaves again, either voluntarily or by reason of a criminal record.
That's it.
You know?
Yeah.
You want to say something?
No, that's it, Apostle.
You know, so that's how they got around it. And then what did they do? They that's why they always trump charges on Jake, to get free labor out of Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're salty that their slaves were freed from the plantation. And they were pretty much all that was done was they were free from the southern plantations and brought into slavery under the northern corporations.
Yeah. That's why the prison system is a government, it's a business now.
Yep.
You know, everybody waking up to the prison being a business.
Yep.
You know.
That's right.
Yep. But it says when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear.
Mm-hmm.
When they see who? They see the chariot first and foremost.
Oh, yeah.
But they see the prophets rising. You know, now they in fear because they understand that, you know, through us returning back to the Heavenly Father, this is resemble their kingdom falling.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it says,
and you know, and Esau is scared. They're really scared, even though they ain't gonna say it, but they're really scared. And this is why they fighting valiantly to try to stop the truth, you know, and to get rid of the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai,
mm-hmm.
because they know that there's power in those names. And that's why they're constantly paying individuals to distort the names of the Most High and Yahweh Shai.
That's right. Yeah, because it helped them prolong they rulership.
That's it.
Yep.
Yep.
So it says, and they shall be amazed at the strangeness of their salvation,
mm-hmm.
so far beyond all that they look for.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Because our salvation come through who? The so-called UFOs, which is the IFO, because they identified in the scriptures as what? Our salvation vehicles. That's the only way out. Is what is up.
That's it.
You know, and this is a part of what of the doomsday, because the Lord say He coming with the thousand hosts of angels, and He coming with the chariots.
That's it.
You know, you go to Acts 1:11.
Mm-hmm.
He said this same Yahweh Shai, as He left, He coming back.
That's right.
He left in the so-called UFO. He coming back.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and He's coming back to bring doom, and the prophets would be speaking about doom, because
mm-hmm.
when all the prophets that were set up, when they went to our empire, they spoke about the destruction of that empire, famine, pestilence, destruction, and it pretty much change your guards. Taking down one empire and setting up another.
That's right.
So, you got anything else in that article?
Uh,
And if not, then we could go to Amos 9.
yeah, we go to Amos. Well, it said Donald Trump doomsday plane have touched down near to the nation capital, wrapping up theories of an impending operation against Iran.
That's right. And because they're setting the stage right now, and that's why that devil, not a Jew, as the elder Makama calls him.
God.
He said today is Tehran, tomorrow it's New York. So pretty much they're projecting. They're telling people, what's going down in front of their face before it actually happens.
Right.
It's the same shit that happened many different times. It's called predictive programming. But in this case, they're just being sloppy with it. They're not even putting it in movies anymore. They just come straight out.
Yeah, exactly. They ain't hiding no more.
Right.
Yep. Yep. And so it says also. It said the plane suddenly movement has sparked fears, suggesting a possible U.S. preparation for a confrontation with Iran. The news comes after a couple were humiliated and kicked off a flight for trying a money-saving hack. Yep. Trump took a bold jab at Iran earlier this week by telling its supreme leader, "We know where you are heading." I mean, it's like, we know where you are hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the Lord knows where you're gonna hide too.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why Amos 9 is gonna be so heavy.
Yeah.
Because the Lord got you in his scope. So you think you could escape. The Lord got you in his scope.
Uh-huh.
This is why you're trying to bring that Palantir surveillance on the whole planet, because you're trying to be like the Most High.
That's right.
You're not the Most High.
That's right. Yeah, so it said, we know where you are hiding. The president said that to the U.S. isn't looking to kill. What's his name? Hayat Allah Ali.
He's Ishmael, right?
Yeah. It's Iran 35-year-old dictator.
Yeah, Ali Khamenei.
Yeah.
It's Ayatollah, which the word Ayatollah, if I'm not mistaken, means east. This pretty much is a title of a ruler.
Yeah, that's it. So we go to the Amos.
Yeah, 9. You could just go straight to the point. At one point, this was dealing with Jake, catching hell, and no matter where they would go, the Lord would get them. But today we apply this to America. Because matter of fact, once you read that, then we could jump down to the 8th verse.
Okay.
Because at one time this applied to Israelites. When they were coming against the Most High, doing all these wicked shit, and the Lord used the Assyrians to take down the Assyrian Empire, to take down the northern kingdom, and he used the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which were also Assyrians,
right,
to take down the southern kingdom. And no matter where Jake was hiding, they got him. Mm-hmm. The only ones that really escaped that whole, tragic event were the poorest of the people. That the Assyrians under Neo-Babylonian Empire allowed to, keep farming the lands.
Right.
But the nobility, the higher ups of Jake, man, they were the first one to go into captivity. That's why the first one to go into captivity for Esau
is gonna be the higher ups,
the kings and the nobles.
Psalms 147. Bind our kings with chains.
149. Yep.
Oh, we're gonna have to get that one too.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I'll grab it while you reading that.
This is Amos 9:2. Though they dig unto hell, this shall my hand take them.
That's right.
Though they climb up to heaven, this will I bring them down.
Right. So pretty much, though they dig into hell, what's hell? The earth. What's that? Those are bunkers.
Right.
And they got bunkers all throughout America. They got underground bunkers. As they said, that the Pentagon is supposedly 75 feet underground. You could go 75 feet underground. That's not going to protect you. Then it says, thence shall my hand take them. What is the hand of the Lord? Those missiles. Why? Because the spirit of the Most High is going to be in those missiles
Right.
to take these devils out. Right? It says, though they climb up to heaven, what do they have up there? Space station. Satellites, space station,
Uh-huh.
You want to say?
I got another back you up too, Apostle. It said astrology discovered mass underground cities beneath Egypt pyramids.
Yeah. So they got all this stuff all over the world.
Yeah.
But the ones that are going to be totally with that shelter that the Edomites, whoever else in America goes into here in America, that's going to be their grave, pretty much. But the ones that are like in certain parts of so-called Europe and other places around the world that don't get touched, they're going to escape. But that's going to be the higher ups, because they show you movies where they only pretty much more concerned about, the higher ups of government, and more important people to so-called save them so that they can, reestablish society
That's
again.
It.
Yep.
You want me to read verse 3 or just jump down?
No, that was it. Just jump to the verse 8. I'm sorry. I said, thence will I bring them down. Yep. Oh, no, matter of fact, read 3.
Okay, come. This is Amos 9:3. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel,
which is a mountain. So you have mountain retreats.
Yep.
You have the Cheyenne Mountain. You have deep underground military bases. So no matter where you go in America, you're through.
Right. Yeah, what they got that place that's basically like guarded off. Damn, what's the name of that place? You know what I'm talking about? It's like no one can go over there. Like
talking about Area 51.
Yeah, Area 51.
Yeah. Yep. So they got stuff all over the place, to hide. But the Lord gonna get you. You can't run anywhere. You can't hide anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You got it, bro.
And it says, "I will search and take them out this,
mm-hmm.
and though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea."
Right. Those are, under the water. You have bunkers and stuff under the water. Cities under the water.
Mm-hmm.
That these devils have been building. Because they know something is coming, because they planning it. Yeah. But the thing is that the Most High is putting it in their spirit to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then if you think that we lying, just go on YouTube. This how proud they is. They boasting on YouTube. Yep. They showing you they underground bunkers. They showing you the underground cities.
Yep.
Right. This just further the Lord's words being faithful and true as we continue to read and see these things manifest before our eyes.
And that's where the Lord sends the prophets to tell you before it happens, and He writes it down so that you don't say that, "Oh, yeah, I already knew that." Jake.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know shit.
Yeah.
But they always gonna say they know it. They know it all.
Mm-hmm. So it said, "I will search and take them out this, and though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, this will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them."
Right. The serpent is Leviathan. Because unbeknownst to you all, the Leviathan, which is a sea monster or sea monsters, is still around. And the Lord got them protected. And He's going to use them to bring judgment too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. So you could jump down to the 8th verse.
Okay, this is Amos 9:8. It said, "Behold, the eyes of the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai power, are upon this simple kingdom."
Right, and the eyes of the Lord is what? Those are the angels.
Right.
And what is a sinful kingdom? Well, back then it was talking about the Israelites. Today it's talking about America. Because America said that they were a Christian, Bible thumping.
Yeah. Psalms 50. What is it? Psalms 50 or Psalms 51?
Psalms 50.
What thou have to do to declare my statutes.
That's right.
And take thy covenant to thy mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Esau got to pay.
That's it.
They swear in on the Bible.
Yep.
The presidents.
That's it.
Yep. So it says, "Behold, the eyes of the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai power, are upon the simple kingdom, and I will destroy it from out the face of the earth, saying that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, said the Lord Yahweh."
Yeah, so the Lord is going to save the elect of the nation of Israel because of the promise that the Lord made to Abraham.
That's right.
You know, so this place is finished. It's already judged. As the name of the title is, nothing will be left in Babylon. You know, so you could run to your you could run in your shelters and all that, but if you are in a shelter anywhere on the shores of America, that's going to be your grave. That's going to be the end of you.
That's right. Well, you say you dies there. You know.
That's it. You could run. You could run. You could hide, but that's going to be your grave with no markers. You ain't gonna have no tombstone. No, you know, the only thing that's going to be left here as a memorial is just, you know, it's going to be a burnt mountain.
That's it.
You know.
That's it. Yep.
So let's go. If you want to, let's go. We could go real quick to Psalms 149.
Okay, come.
And 5.
I got you. This is Psalms. This is 145. I mean 147.
149 and 5.
Okay. This is Psalms 149 and 5. It said, "Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises."
The saints are the Israelites. Go ahead.
Yep. "Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand."
Right, because we're going to be praising Yahweh Bashem El Shai, but we're also going to have a sword in our hand, which is a killing instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It said to execute vengeance upon the heathen.
Right, because, you know, the Lord got a controversy with these nations for what they did to us. You know, and the Lord's going to use Israel to exact his vengeance upon Esau and the nations.
Ooh, you know that bag up? Ezekiel 25:14.
That's it, brother. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, you want? I can jump it out real quick.
Yeah. Let's get it.
To make sense of it.
Yeah.
This is Ezekiel 25. All right, and I'm gonna start at 13. Ooh, we'll start at 11. It said, "I would." So like this is Ezekiel 25 and 11. It said, "And I will execute judgment upon Moab, and they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh."
Yeah, Moab's gonna get it too.
"Thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai power, because that Edom had dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance." So what vengeance mean? Payback, right? It said they have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them.
Right, and that goes back, you know, during the time of the Babylonians when they did that to Jake, but also, you know, you could apply it to what they did here in America.
As they continue to do.
Yep, that's right.
You know,
that's
and
right.
they hold themselves not guilty.
Yep.
You know, that's the spirit that these proud Edomites got on them. You know, whether they kill you in the streets,
yep.
You know, put their foot on your neck, you know, they hold themselves not guilty.
Yeah, and they think they're never gonna pay.
That's right. But you know, like I like to say, show it shit stinks. You know, prophecy is gonna come to pass. They're gonna pay soon.
That's it. It's gonna be that funky shit too.
That's right. So it says, "Thus said the Lord, you know, Yahweh Shema Shai power, because Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them." Because when you go back into the book of Genesis, that perpetual hatred. Remember, you know, when Isaac gave Jacob and Esau the blessing.
Yep.
You know, when you go around the 40th verse, he said, "What? My father's death is at hand. Did what I slay my brother Jacob." See, he always had that hatred.
Yeah.
You know, and that's him dwelling against the house of Judah, you know, by taking vengeance because of their birthright.
That's it.
You know, so it says, verse 13, "Therefore, thus said the Lord, Yahweh Shema power, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom." We know who that hand represent.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Yahweh Shai. But guess who Yahweh Shai coming with? He coming with the angels.
Yep.
All right, they coming to wreck shop.
All right, and this talking about America.
Yeah.
Talking about the Edomites here in America. It's not talking about the land of Edom, because in order for this to apply to the land of Edom, the Edomites got to be there.
Exactly.
And the people that predominantly own and live in those areas are Ishmaelites. This is why Esau tries to call them the Edomites.
Right.
And they're not. You know, the Nabateans, going back to 325 BC, conquered that whole, you know, land, or the land of Edom. They took it from the Edomites. you know, and they conquered Moab, and if I'm not mistaken, Ammon, but definitely Edom and Moab. You know, so the people that are in those lands today are Ishmaelites, not Edomites. So if the future prophecies of the destruction of Edom is talking about the actual land of Edom, the Edomites have to be in that land today, and they're not.
Right. But like I say, that's how you know it's talking about America.
That's right.
You know, because who control America?
Yep.
You know?
I mean, unless individuals that saying that America's not Edom believe that those Ishmaelites over there are the Edomites,
Right.
or they don't know, they no longer believe that the Edomites are the so-called white men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know so much is going on, so many individuals taking bribes and getting paid off. You don't know what they believe anymore.
Exactly.
You know?
But it's like say you got, okay, but you can all tell through what? Through prophecy.
That's right.
See, prophecy let you know who, or prophecy is an identification of who's who. All right. When you think about the Israelites, go through prophecy. You know, you think about Deuteronomy 28:15 on down. That's identify who are the Israelites. The curses, man. You know, who's struggling, who in captivity. All right. And then when you flip the script, on the other hand, who in power? All right, who the borrower, who the lender? You see? So going back into Ezekiel 25:13, it says, I will stretch out my hand upon Edom, which that hand represents Yahweh Shai, along with the angels, and I will cut off man and beast from it. You see? And I will make it desolate from teeming, and they of the Dan shall fall by the sword. And they're speaking about, you know, the Africans too, them African nations. All right, they're gonna fall also. But it says, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom. And remember, vengeance goes back to what? Payback. And this is the Lord vengeance. And he said upon Edom, because that's the classic when you go to Revelation 13:10. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. That's right. But it said, he that leadeth the captivity shall what? Go into captivity.
But that don't mean that though, brother.
Yeah, right. Yep.
We got to get the breakdown right. Come on, man.
So the Lord said, I will lay my vengeance upon Edom, because it's the Most High that design, you know, what's go on in the world. You know, man don't make decisions. It's the Most High that make decisions. You go into Proverbs 16:1. It said the preparation of heart is in man, but the answer come from who? Come from the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai.
That's right.
Man goes out of the Lord. Yep. How then a man can what? Understand his own way.
That's right.
The Most High ruler in the kingdom of men. So what you see going on now is the Most High, all right, chastising us for the disobedience, but he used his sword, which is Esau Edom. So in return, all right, when that transition of power occur, the Lord gonna put the spirit on us to do unto Edom, as we're reading in what Psalms, the 149.
That's it.
As we're gonna bind that king with chain, but this is what going more depth. What you think about Ezekiel 25? So it says, "I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel."
That's it. I got a real quick one for you.
Go ahead.
This is Jeremiah 51:20.
Yeah, this is a hit.
Yeah,
it hit.
Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and the rider and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. It says, with thee also will I. You want to say something?
Nah, it just bring me back to mind how the Lord did Israel. You know, you go to Isaiah 40. What did Isaiah 47:6? He said, "I will wrath with my people. I polluted my inheritance. I have given them over to thy hand."
That's it.
What the Lord finna do to Esau and the other nation? He finna give them over.
That's it.
You know,
it's gonna be a reversal.
That's it.
That's right.
The transition of what? Of power.
That's it. The change of the guard.
Yeah, and there's none that we can do about it, and there's none that Esau can do about it.
That's it. Just like we couldn't do nothing about it when we went down.
Right.
We couldn't stop it. They can't stop it. You know? It says, with thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid.
Man.
I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen.
Literally.
Yeah.
You know, because you got World War, you know, us putting them in captivity.
Yeah.
You know, But within, like say, that 1,000 years, we're gonna be breaking them.
That's it.
We're gonna be breaking them down. You know,
That's
and
it.
it's all through the Spirit. Probably how about Shemal Shah.
Yep. It says, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers, and I will render unto Babylon, America, Babylon the Great,
Right.
and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, which is talking about the Edomites, their top, witches and scholars, warlocks, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai.
They're gonna get paid back for all that.
And the Lord said he's gonna make it public in the sight. Because it's how it says that the nation's gonna stand afar off.
Yeah.
But
torment.
Yeah.
You know, you got people say how they say it's gonna be televised.
Yep. The revolution will not be televised. Well, look, the destruction of Esau will be televised.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
They gonna see it.
That's it.
You know how you're speaking on how the nation gonna hiss.
Yep.
But a burn of her smoke because they can't get no more money. They can't come here and live deliciously no more. And continue to lick the wombs.
That's it.
Yeah, the Lord gonna put an end to all that.
Yeah.
You know.
So He gonna give us retribution.
That's right.
You want reparations? Wait on the Lord. The Lord gonna give us a reparation.
Yeah, because that 40 acres in the moves, that's not true reparation. No. Especially understanding the prophecy and knowing this bitch gonna burn. Like you won't even be right having 40 acres in the move right now.
No.
Because it ain't gonna benefit it. It ain't gonna benefit you.
Most Jakes ain't gonna know what to do with that anyway.
Exactly. They ain't been taught how to, farm
and you gotta know how to raise animals. Your animals will die. Your land will die if you don't know how to run it.
Yeah, and Mo Jake, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You see, you be driving down the road, see a lot of dead, dead
horses
cows
and
horses. Yeah, Jake selling them to get, material things.
And they get some Jordans.
Right. He done sold a whole cow. The cow worth, thousands and thousands of dollars. But you sell it for, hundreds of dollars. Don't make sense.
A couple pair, of them top Jordans and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it says, I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do unto Edom according to my anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, said the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah power.
That's it.
That's how you know it was the Most High Yahweh that put us in captivity and allowed Esau to do what he did to us.
Yeah,
it was the Most High. So in transferring that same power, it's gonna be done unto them.
That's it.
But the scriptures say what? Double.
Yeah.
Double according to her, double according to what her works.
That's it. Yep. He stripped us of our heart. He stripped us of everything, the warriors, everything. I mean, there was nothing.
Took our might away.
Man, Jake fought, but you couldn't prevail because it was time for us to go down.
Yeah, right. Esau, he had the power.
That's it.
So let's go back to Psalms
149.
Yeah, 149. All right, this is Psalms 149. Back at 6. It said, let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathens and punishment upon the people. Because when you go into, because it's written in the law, you go to Numbers, I think it's number 18. He that stealeth a man, that shall be found in the hand, shall be put to death.
Yeah, that was, I think that's Numbers 33 or 35, 33. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Exodus 21:16.
Exodus 21:16. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this is, really bag up, where we at. Yep. Yet today in our captivity, we still in the hands of who? Our enemy, our oppressor. So it says, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written.
Yeah.
And that's when you go back to that, that's a judgment because they go back to the law.
Yep. Yeah, so the kings and the nobles, which are the higher ups. So our kings and our nobles and all that went into captivity. So will you.
That's right. And it says to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh.
Right, and the saints of the Israelites. This pretty much reads, word for word, just a little different, like Revelation 13 and 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
That's it.
This honor, this is the patience. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's get it.
That's right.
Let's get
And
it.
then
Real
you get
quick.
there, I'm gonna go to Jeremiah 16:16.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Revelation 13:10. I'll read that real quick while you get that.
Okay.
It says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So you see how it kind of reads similar to Psalms 149 and 9.
Yeah.
To execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all the saints, praise ye the Lord. Yahweh Bashem El Shai.
That's right. Man, that's beautiful.
So where you at, Jeremiah?
Yeah, Jeremiah 16.
And 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna start at 14.
Okay.
Because it really bring more clarity of the destruction, also our deliverance.
Yep.
You know, Apostle Hadin was your, you know, the hope of your Esau destruction and
Yep.
hope of your our deliverance.
That's it. That's it. And look what it says here in the blue letter.
Oh, the Most High will restore them. That's
Restore
right.
who? Restore who? The Israelites.
That's it. That's it. They will be hastening to be restored.
That's it.
You know, brought back to righteousness. This is Jeremiah 16:14. It said, therefore, behold, the day is come, said the Lord Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, the Lord Yahweh liveth, that brought thee up, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north.
Right.
And from all the lands whither he have driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I have given to their fathers.
That's right.
Man, that's the deliverance.
That's it.
Because this is known as what? Spiritual Egypt.
Yep.
Revelation 11:8.
And this is that land of the north, because we've been delivered from different lands of the north, and there's no high holy day that trumps Passover.
That's right.
None.
Nothing.
To this day. To this day. You know?
Yeah. So Jeremiah 16 and 16, it said, behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord Yahweh. And that's what you have now in the form of the prophets on the highways and the hedges, in the spirit of Proverbs 1:20. You say, wisdom cry without, she uttered her voice in the streets.
Yep.
And that's the Lord, you know, sending his men as fishermen. You know what we told John, you know, Yahweh Shai, he spoke the he thought I'd make you fishers of men. What that was, John and
you know, the Apostle John, Peter, and them.
Yeah.
You know, I would make you fishers of men, because they were fishers. It was that
was their occupation.
Actually, it was Peter, Andrew, you know, and it was I mean, I can't think of all of them right now, but definitely Peter, because Peter was a fisherman. I believe Andrew.
I think it was Peter and Andrew.
Peter and Andrew, yeah, I mean, I had to go back and, you know, because I don't remember all, because they were fishermen.
Yeah, it definitely, because he was walking on the shore when he saw him.
Yep.
And he said, you know, drop your nets.
Yep.
And come with me and follow me.
That's
and I will make you fishers of men.
Yep. Yep.
So that's what you have right now in the form of the prophets on the highways and hedges. We are fishing right now. You know, but it says, behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord Yahweh.
Yep.
And they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters.
Yep.
And they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks.
Yeah. So you're gonna be hiding,
right?
And what's gonna happen? The Lord's gonna have his men come looking for you. They're gonna kick down that big ass bunker door. You know, that's just so-called can't be penetrated by nuclear missiles.
Right.
And this is not talking about America, talking about around the world. And then next thing you know, you're gonna have Edomites, nations, and all that being carted right into slavery.
That's it.
Beginning with their top.
Yep. Verse 17, beg your apostle. But my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face. Neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes.
Yeah. So the Lord sees everything, because remember, the Lord's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. And his angels are the eyes of the Lord that go to and fro. Not that the Lord needs that, but that's how the Lord set it up. So in essence, the angels are like these different cameras that Esau uses to try to surveil the world. You know?
Yep. Now Isaiah 2.
Yep.
So this is Isaiah 2 and 19. It says, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth, for the fear of the Lord Yahweh, and for the glory of his majesty, when they arise it to shake terribly the earth.
Yeah, the whole earth's gonna rock to and fro like a drunkard.
That's it. Woo. They said for the fear of the Lord, they gonna go into them bunkers, man.
Hide us.
Yeah.
They're gonna think that that's gonna be the escape, the hiding place.
But the Lord, in this whole code that the Most High is written.
Yeah.
It's written what they're gonna do, and here it is. They're gonna do it.
Yeah. And they read this because they have scholars that go through the scriptures, but they, that's why the Lord said, unto the wicked, he said, what have thou to do to declare my statutes, that thou shouldest take my covenant in your mouth.
Yeah.
Seeing you, hate instruction.
Yeah. But the pride is their pride.
Yep.
Yep. So it says, in that day, a man should cast his idol of silver and his idol of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship, to the mold and to the back.
Yeah, because they're gonna figure out once and for all that all that shit they were worshiping is worth nothing.
Ain't worked
out. All that sorcery.
It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working. All that sorcery and witchcraft, all that shit they use, and spells.
Yeah.
It's not working.
And it reminds me of the time with Elijah.
Oh yeah, with the false prophets.
Yeah, Baal. They were cutting themselves.
Yeah, they went all in.
And he was so funny. He said, "What happened to y'all guys? He sleep,
Maybe he's on a long vacation,
right? Because that's how it's gonna be. It ain't gonna work no more.
Yep.
It's only work for a period of time because the Most High, rule it. Like I say, rule it in the kingdom of men. He just set it up that way. So it says to go into the cliffs of the rocks, and to the top of the ragged rocks, or the rag rocks. It says, for the fear of the Lord Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake terrible the earth.
Yeah, so this is all their shelters. Those shelters that they've set up to be able to hide. But you ain't gonna be able to hide.
Seize ye from man, whose breath is in him in his nostril. So like whose breath is in his nostril. For wherein he is to be accounted of.
Right, because man, they can't help you. Cursed be the man that trusted the man and make his arm as flesh. Yeah. What was the other one you had?
Revelation 6.
Revelation 6. All right, cool. And all this is going to happen because, the Lord gave them the technology to destroy themselves. I have created the ways to destroy. He gave these devils, the modern day Smiths, which are the scientists, the technology to build these missiles pretty much to destroy themselves.
That's right.
And even Oppenheimer said that. I am become the death, the destroyer of worlds, because he understood that was going to bring the end of Esau's kingdom. So you got it.
All right, this is Revelation 6.
Oh, and they also said these shall flee from the iron weapon.
Uh-huh.
So what does it mean you're gonna flee? You're gonna run to them shelters to try to hide. But yeah, you're gonna escape the missiles, but you ain't gonna escape the Lord.
Exactly. You ain't gonna escape the ultimate judgment. You're going to captivity.
That's it.
See, because the Lord's words are faith and truth. So everything that's written is gotta happen.
That's it.
Because the Lord is where he's bound by his word.
That's it.
There's so many people ready to call the Lord a liar.
Right. You could do that, but the Lord is not a man that he should lie.
Should lie. You see? That remind me of this quick precept is in Job. I think Job 40. Real quick, it said, should not be according to thy mind.
Oh, 36.
Is it
36 chapter, yep. Should it be according to thy mind?
Yeah. That's a beautiful precept.
Yeah. Job 36 and
let me see. Let me see. According.
Yeah, if you put the word according to thy mind, should it be or should it be?
Yeah, Job 34, 33.
Oh, 34. I thought it was 36.
I'm at 33, 34, 33.
34, 33. Okay, Job.
Yeah, check this out. This is Job 34 and 33. It said, should it be according to thy mind? It's a question. You know, because you got a lot of people, you know, gainsaying and, you know, what did we say also in Amos? Woe to them that desire the day of the Lord. So it should be according to thy mind.
Yeah.
It said he will recompense it whether thou refuse or whether thou choose.
That's right.
And not I, therefore speak what thou knowest.
Yeah, because you ain't gonna be able to escape. Doesn't matter if you don't want to. Look, you could not want to go into captivity. You could not want to lose your kingdom. That's cool. You don't have to accept it, but you're gonna be forced to swallow it down. You know.
Well, that reminds me of Apostle Paul, Romans 3 and 3.
Yep.
You know, where the son don't believe.
That's it.
You know.
Shall the unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect?
Yeah.
It's already written, and the cold thing, like you said, the cold thing about it is they know it. They know it's coming, but the Lord got them programmed to still fight, like the militaries of the world.
Yeah,
they're gonna be scared, but the Lord gonna put the spirit on them to fight.
Yeah, 2 Ezra 13. They still fight.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So this is Revelation 6 and 13. The stars of heaven fell into the earth.
That's talking about the missiles.
Even as the fig tree casted her untimely figs.
That's how the Apostle John explained it. It was the same way that Isaiah explained it.
Yep. When she is shaken of a mighty wind,
mm-hmm.
and the heavens depart as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island was moved out of their places.
Right. The departing as a scroll is talking about those what they call the mushroom clouds.
That's it. Ooh. And it said, and the kings of the earth and the great men.
That's talking about your international banking families.
Yep. And the rich men.
Right. So your top so-called kings and noblemen, rulers of the earth.
And the chief captains.
That's your military men.
And the mighty men.
Your armies.
And every bondman.
Slaves.
And every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains.
Yeah, that's talking about those shelters.
Yep. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us. And they're trying to seek death. They're going to be funny. They're going to try to seek death, but the Lord going to keep them alive.
That's it.
You know? It says, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne.
That's Yahweh.
And from the wrath of the Lamb.
That's that's Yahweh Shai.
For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
Yeah, because Yahweh Shai said that, the day of vengeance burns in his heart. So they're going to feel that wrath. They're going to know who it is coming, back to take them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can finish up the last precept, back to Psalms 149. We can finish that up.
Let me go. What verse are we in?
Yeah, Psalm 149. Stop back at 7.
Okay. All right, you got it.
This is Psalm 149 and 7. It said to execute vengeance upon the heathens and punishment upon the people. So all these precepts, link right back up into Psalm 149.
That's it.
To show you that the Most High and what he got in store, all right, for the heathens.
Yeah.
It says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This is the honor have all his saints. Praise you, the Lord Yahweh. Mm-hmm. And that's what we patiently waiting on, man.
That's
the saints are the Israelites.
Yep. Your nobles, your kings, your nobles, that's the top men of this planet, beginning with the Edomites. They're gonna be the first ones to take slavery, the so-called rich men of this earth. So you got anything else? All right. So with that, we pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time we say, Shalom.
Shalom.